Now, once this comes in, I have to mute it, and it's taking longer. There we go. Oh, it's muted. Otherwise, I get an echo, so I always have to check that first. Welcome to A High Note, our podcast here, and I'm going to put on my fancy graphics here just for like ta-da, the High Note V podcast. And I'm here today. Ooh, and I have to put that in there. Megan. Usually I do that beforehand. And
You're
you are a
fine.
musician, composer, singer, songwriter. So I'll get that part right. Singer, song. There we go. So I have my prompts right. I should have done that beforehand. But anyways, we are here with Megan Woodruff, and we're going to have a great conversation. We want to give a special thanks to Piebox and Slack for allowing us to use their tools to communicate and collaborate with the Composer Exchange and our various groups that get together and have fun learning and that sort of thing. So with that, if you want to learn more about our community, go to the composerexchange.com. There's a form there and you can fill it out and I will get back to you and plug you in. If this is the kind of thing that you're into, singing, songwriting, playing music, and composing epic scores for the world to dance to or whatever. Anyways, join us on the Composer Exchange over there. And without further ado, welcome, Megan. Megan, how are you today? Megan Woodruff, singer, songwriter, and we met at Taxi. That was a
Yes,
great event in LA, and that was a lot of fun. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, now I heard your music and it just connected with me and that's a beautiful thing when music just kind of connects with you in some kind of a I don't know, is it a spiritual way or whatever? But those vibrations, your voice is just connected, and it's a beautiful thing. So you have such a talent. I peeked on some of your well, is it YouTube or are they little clips or are you
Yeah.
doing the TikTok or I mean everybody's into their own little social clips right now, but you've done some really fun stuff and that's pretty interesting. So tell me how you got, what inspired you to go to Taxi and kind of get involved and then I want to dig back to the beginning of how you got into music and what inspired you and that whole thing. So let's kind of start around that Taxi time frame of what was going on in your head and where you are at on your journey.
So it's actually pretty funny. I didn't know about Taxi until I went to the Northwoods Singer Songwriters Retreat. And that was hosted by James Koshin and his wife Jill Koshin. And they're such amazing people if you haven't met them. But um, a whole bunch of people, different musicians like us, were there, and they were talking about Taxi. And I was like, everyone is talking about Taxi. So eventually I asked, someone tell me what the deal is. And so they told me that it was getting your music into films and shows and sending it out to labels and stuff like that. And I was immediately sold on the idea, and um, I signed up and I went and I met you.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, and it sounds like you met quite a few other people too.
Yes.
And so you had mentioned as we were getting ready here that you have done some collaborations with some other folks. Tell me about some of those experiences and what kind of projects they are that you were working on.
Yeah. So all of the collaborations that I'm working on now, none of the songs have been released or pushed out to any of the sync opportunities yet. However, they're current and ongoing, and they've been so fun. And I knew when I went to Taxi that I was going to meet talented people, but I mean, there are so talented. They're so talented. Um, and I just am so blessed to be able to have all that going on. But yes, so I'm working on some K-pop stuff. I'm working on some like indie singer songwriter brief types, And then I'm also just working with other artists and just making sure like we're writing about things that we love and own in our life, and what we would like other people to feel and share and experience.
Oh, that's wonderful. You mentioned with Taxi, there's so much talent there, and that's just so true. I used to be a talent agent, and one of the things, the main job that I had was ego management. Kind of like, there's always something going, but you can't go to Taxi and walk away. You can't go there with I mean, you can go there with an ego if you want, but good luck. But
Yeah.
you can't walk away from a Taxi event, and this is kudos to them, without feeling humbled at
Oh,
how much great talent there is and how much inspiration there is in that community. And I'm going to say the sync community, but there's folks that are more than sync, that are there. They're just really well-grounded, well-rounded musicians and talent. So that's a wonderful thing that you've hooked up with some people. And it sounds to me like you've gotten a couple niches that you're going after, style wise, that perhaps blend well with your voice and or who you're collaborating with?
yeah, for sure. And the singer songwriter, like indie stuff, is pretty spot on for me. I also do the female rock vocal genres. That's really something that I've been asked to collaborate on. And also, like 80s synth pop is what I've also been into.
Oh.
The K-pop, Korean pop, is brand new to me, so I'm flexing and stretching some new muscles on working on that, but it's eye-opening and cool.
Well, yeah. In working with like different cultures, the language doesn't always translate the same.
Right.
Um, I remember working on a project with there was I think it was Shaggy and Asuka. I'm going to get that name messed up, but they were kind of like the Beatles of China, and they contacted a friend of mine who was going to put together a demo in that genre. He had the tune right, but then he's putting in these lyrics and into English, and I'm like, you get slapped pretty hard for saying that in America. It might be okay. So some of the things didn't quite translate the way they should. So
Yeah.
so have you found that to be kind of that a little bit with a language barrier where you really have to interpret things a little bit differently to get the gist of what they're trying to do, but it's really saying something different? Do you find any of that in what you're doing
Oh, for
in that?
sure. Because I did some like marketing research, if you want to call it that, just looking at different translations of songs that they already have that are really popular, just to see what they're actually singing about. That way we can write and then have them translate it back. Um, they It's very different for sure. I mean, just as simple as the word structure of the sentence is different. And not only that, but they have different themes that they just absolutely will not entertain. They will not talk about like drugs or use any kind of cussing or expletives or anything like that. Nothing vulgar or
I guess
anything.
rap is done for, or some of the rap hip hop is not going to go over so well over there in that regard. It'll have a different flavor. The style might do.
I was gonna say they for sure wouldn't talk about the same things that American rappers talk about, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mentored a young man. He's such a talent, Darnell Staley. Shout out to you, really talented young man. And I used to get on him, man. Can you take out the N word or the explicit thing? But he's like, no, 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 it's got to be in there. I met actually a wonderfully talented artist at Taxi, not last year, but 2 years ago, and her father is also a sync agent, and he's helping me with some tunes. But Tia P, I don't know if you go look her up on YouTube, but Tia P, she is fantastic at two things. One is, and I'm sure you're honing in on this if you're going after sync, is universal lyrics.
Mhm.
right? You know that that's absolutely key. But then her stuff is so clean and inspirational, but it's still got raw, guts to it, and passion in the hip hop scene. But she comes from a religious family and or spiritual beliefs, and you don't need it. You don't need to have that tone, if you will, or language to get the same message point and passion across. I would think so.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a fun project to work on. Now, they're not necessarily the same people, so you're working with several different people on your collaborations?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I've got that going on, and then um, I'm working with a local artist. Her name is Heather Evans, and she's another person that was talking to me about Taxi as well. Um, and her and I are writing a song together right now that um, we're really excited about because it's something that we both can relate to. And so to be able to one be able to figure out that we're in the same city, but also figure out that we are so alike. Um,
What city is that, by the way? Where are you based out of?
we're from Columbus, Ohio. Yep.
Columbus, yay! A
Yep.
lot of corn.
Go Buckeyes. Yeah. But yeah, so that is going really well. And her and I have similar goals for our music. We want to be artists, but we also want to be able to push our own artist material to be syncable. And we also want to make sure that our music that we're releasing connects with people, allowing them to feel emotions the way that they need to, whether they admit it or not.
Mhm. So an uplifting message, or what is the kind of tone of the themes that you're writing about?
So this is think of I think of it as an overcoming piece. So it is going to be a bit uplifting, but it's also going to show the raw parts. So for instance, her and I um we have some medical issues that we're going through and we're treating at the moment. And so we're writing about how sometimes it's just hard to get out of bed. However, because we have people like each other and we have other friends and how we have music, we can get the strength to be able to do what we need to do and to be able to help other people that are in similar situations that we are.
Well, and music is such a powerful force to help people anywhere. I mean, it's a universal language. It helps set your mood or pull out the emotion. And sometimes, when I have several friends that struggle with depression, and music is a way to pull you in and just give you that energy to get out of bed, like you say, which is important. Now, I kind of consider myself a retired songwriter. In other words, I'm mostly focusing on instrumental music now. But when
Gotcha.
I used to write a lot of songs, um, I found that I would write my best material when I was having the shittiest time of my life. you know, so when you're really in that emotional place where you're really struggling or going through a breakup, or something traumatic happens in your life, you're really able to dig down into those real honest emotions and pull that out. So you pull out just kind of this extra layer of juicy content that you can, and passion that you can put into your music. So when you're able to, if you've got the craft and the skills, which you do, and you're able to pull out that honesty, I think it's a gift, but it's also a trap, because I think it can pull you into a darker place because you kind of, well, I wrote that really good thing by being down. Let me stay being down so that I can do it again. But it's a dark place. And I think, for lack of a better way to kind of explain it, that's almost addicting in itself. And I think that pulls people in, especially folks that, dabble in drinking and other, uh, you know, types of drugs or that sort of thing as, recreationally. I think it can be a trap if you let it. I mean,
Absolutely. I
so
totally agree with that. And the stuff that I write is exactly what you're talking about. Like I write from grief, I write from the medical journey that I've been on, and I write from emotions. I feel
mhm.
love, I feel grief, I feel hopeless, I feel uh, excited, and I feel flirty, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like think of all of these different things that I can channel from. And it's like I said before, the main thing that I really love about music is being able to relate with people that have the same feelings that I do, and being able to make music for people that can't express it, because it's hard to be able to express things sometimes. And you know sometimes, just like what you were saying, it can be a trap. But for me, writing music, it's what I cope with. I cope with making music, and I can figure out how to turn it into a positive energy to be able to get out of bed the next day. And life isn't easy for everyone. And just to be able to get every once in a while a message over TikTok or YouTube and just say, like your music really just helped me get through my father's death, or your music really helped me get through addiction, or your music really, fit the mood for this party I threw the other night. Like,
yeah.
those are the kinds of things that I, as a musician and as a singer songwriter, want.
Yeah, you want to be able to touch people in that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's no, you use the word flirty. I like sassy. That's like you can they kind of go together for kind of connecting with that emotion. Now, do you find that have, so if you're going to write a bunch of sassy music or, flirty, you're going to kind of put that into kind of a package of so many songs that'll kind of have some similarity in there, right? And then you're writing stuff that is, maybe connecting with those emotional, that honesty, okay? Which you want to actually, as a songwriter, I think it's really important to have that honesty in everything that you do.
Yeah.
That sincerity and look at the incredible success of somebody like Taylor Swift, who's just
Yeah.
been able, that's her thing. She just, never, ever, ever. Sorry, dude. I just love that. I mean, she just has a way of connecting to those things that resonate with people as far as what they're feeling. And that's, I as a songwriter, that's what you're telling me is a goal for you with that. Now you have, so you're saying you're pulling in this emotional concepts into your music. What How long does it take you to nurture a song? I think Edie Brickell said something once about one of her big hits. She just said, philosophy on the back of a cereal box. She said, I just like blurted that out. I wrote it in 10 minutes. But
Yeah.
when you write sometimes those things happen, right? It's just like, and it was just like, whoa, hey, it came from the gods somewhere. But But then there's those other times where you got to sit there and you work at what rhymes with, you're gonna find an acronym for this. There's other times when you're really having to work at it to get it out. What do you find? Where do you find that, that balance in your workflow process?
I typically find that I have a range. I either go from taking 15 to 20 minutes to perfect the melody and the lyrics to the way I want it to 2 days. Like that is it. And then it takes me, well, before I had my studio, it would take me a few weeks to get into a studio and go track all the vocals and then send it to someone else to mix and master it because I I'm not that person. I can't do that myself yet.
But
But yeah,
yet is the word, because this is a journey and you are always, I mean, you just said you didn't have a studio. Now you have a studio and now you're going to continue to learn and grow. I
yeah,
mean, 10 years from now, you're going to be a mixed master, right?
I hope so. That's the dream.
Yeah. If you work at it, you're never given a dream without the power to achieve it, as they say. So
Yeah, for sure.
that's awesome. Well, you were talking about music connecting with emotion and everything. And I find I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm not a religious person. I don't necessarily go to church. No problem with it, and I'm happy with people for what their beliefs are. But for me, my praying and my meditation all comes when I sit down and I connect with music myself, just by myself. I don't need it to, make myself look good in the community or whatever. I just that's my Zen space, to just sit there like that. Do you find music has a way of connecting you with your spiritual foundation and your centering as well?
Oh, for sure. I myself am Christian and I do follow um, Jesus in that aspect. And every weekend since 2018, I became a worship leader for a local church that I go to. And I actually just got finished tracking vocals on their upcoming worship album. So
Wonderful.
we're excited for that. But for me, my very first solo was for a church play for a church that
Oh,
I used to go
wonderful.
to. Music I have always felt like was a spiritual gift. Um, and so what you're saying about just going into that meditative space and being able to really feel the emotions that either the music is giving you or that music that you're creating is starting to flow and manifest in there. Like, I totally can agree with that because it takes you to a whole different level.
Yeah. So I've been on a quite a few different worship teams before, and I love the fact of how you're using music to connect people, because when they're getting together and they're all in a congregation, they're holding hands and singing songs together, they're bonding, they're creating a whole nother energy. And uh as a drummer, I've gotten to play in so many different kinds. So I'm playing in the the Southern Baptist, they're clapping, the little old ladies are, yeah, sing it. And then I'm playing in a Dixieland one time, for a service. And then you're doing the more traditional, Jesus loves me so, the more traditional Christian types of things. And all of them have that same thing in common. All the different styles, the people are connecting through music. And that's the beauty. And that's what you're doing as a songwriter too, is you're connecting people through a common emotion. I can't get out of bed, there's whatever the hook is, there's a tear in my beer, whatever. uh Whatever that hook is, uh to pull you into that common thing, right? That hook is that identifier for them to go, I'm there too. And that's where people want to belong and be part of that same group and feel that it's okay to be where they are.
Yeah.
So, what's the hardest song for you to write? A hardest kind of song to write?
The hardest kind of song?
Yeah.
You're going to laugh when I say this, but happy songs. Happy songs are the hardest for me.
Well, it's funny you say that because like I was saying before, I used to write a lot of stuff when I was going through a lot. My most prolific time was when I broke up from a 17-year relationship, and then I was meandering around for 2 years trying to figure out who the hell I was. Okay. I wrote a lot of songs, but now I'm happily married and I'm just like it's kind of like almost what's the point? I don't I don't need that as an outlet to I just it's kind of weird. But so I can see that as being like all of a sudden, well, write a happy song. Okay. Uh but yeah, the what so in a happy song that you were going to write, what makes it hard for you to write a happy song? I wouldn't have a hard time finding things to write about in happy. It's just I'm not as inspired to write about that. Whereas like I'm depressed and like what am I gonna do? Well, I'll write a song. I'll get it out of me. You know. So what is it that you find the hardest about writing a happy song?
I think what the hardest aspect is where I am in life currently. Because, like I mentioned before, I channel the emotions that I'm feeling to be able to write. And um, this year has been the year of health trials for me. And so being able to have to write, like, I'm doing a collaboration right now, and the song is like a major laser type beat, and it's like super like fun vocals. I'm thinking maybe like Selena Gomez, early Selena Gomez kind of feel.
Mhm.
And um, we are naming it Move Your Body. And for me right now, that is not what I want to do. And that is like the farthest thing um, that I would want to do, especially when you're in pain all the time. So being able to write something like that is hard to just pull out. And I'm a very genuine person. I'm very honest in my writing. And I think it feels fake for me to write about happy things if I'm not feeling all the way up to par on the level of happiness that is, which it's a pretty happy song, but we finished the song. We're getting it mixed and mastered now, so it's done. But that's the trend that I see with all of the happier songs that I write. And, I wrote a few love songs last year because me
Oh, I think we froze up for a second.
and
Hopefully you'll come back. 1 second, you froze. So that's a technical thing here. I don't know if
my
that's on my side or
boyfriend
yours.
to me and feel to him.
Okay, back up about 2 or 3 sentences. You froze up over here. I'm sorry. So that we can hear your response.
Okay. Um, I was just saying that about a year ago, I wrote a bunch of happy songs,
Mhm.
love songs about my boyfriend. He, we were just having a really great year. And so I was able to write out of that. It was very genuine.
Mhm.
Um, whereas now we're doing good, but because I'm in the position that I am in with all my medical stuff, I'm not really feeling lovey dovey songs right now.
Yeah,
You know what
but
I
the
mean?
thing is, if you're a trained songwriter, you understand your emotions and
Mm-hmm.
you understand the language and how to connect, leveraging your craft and your skill. Um, you can do it. You can write a happy song, even if you're not feeling like super happy. and it can still be honest even though you're not really tuned into it at the time, because and that's really the craft. Now your better work is going to come when you're inspired, but you can actually, I would say from a performance standpoint, you really need to be there. From a structural, uh you know uh write a song, craft a song, uh package it, and arrange it, you don't need to be in that space because your intellect can put that together. But to pull out that emotional performance, you have to be there. And one of the things that I learned early in my career, I was working this like too many hours, and I would just be dead on my ass. I would just be out of it. I get up and it's like time to go on stage, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm like ready to go." It's like you can turn that on. You can
Yeah.
learn how to do that. Um, to an extent. I mean, I can, if you take, any of the real, well-known, pop stars that are out there, they have to learn that. They have to be able to put themselves into there, just like an actor or actress would, be able to go into an actor can go into a cry scene. They can put themselves in that place. It might
Yeah.
not be where they are in their personal lives, but they're able to put themselves in that place because they understand it. It's part of their craft. And it's like, you don't always feel like this isn't what I want to do right now, but hey, we're here. You can you're gonna go into that
Oh,
to that vibe. Now
that's
let's
a
kind of
great reminder. Yeah.
let's go back in time. Okay, how did you get involved? What is your journey? Where did your journey start in music, and how did that evolve to get to say this time period right now?
Well, my mother would say I was born singing. Um, but my story, I would say, would be I grew up in a pretty musical family. My grandparents were musicians, singer, guitarist, drummer, and then my parents, my dad's side in particular, he pretty much hobbied with music. And then I watched my older brothers who picked up the guitar and pretty much any instrument they got their hands on. And I was like, that's really cool. That resonates with me, and I wanted to do that too.
Now
And
you
so
just mentioned brothers. So how big is your how many immediate siblings do you have?
I have two.
Two
Yes.
brothers, and no sisters?
No sisters, just
So
me.
so the trio, you're the trio. Okay. Now are you the youngest or
I'm the baby.
you're
Yep.
the baby? Okay. So then yeah, you got big brothers to take care to protect you and be a little bit of a role model. That's awesome.
Yes. My older brother, the next sibling up, he passed away in 2021, but he was
Oh, sorry.
probably the most, I want to say, musically talented out of all of us three. Um, he's the one I would say probably inspired me to music the most. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I mean, we get our inspiration from a variety of places, and it sounds like your family's been a big influence. I can relate to that, having a family connected in a variety of ways to music. But as societies, we would always gather for music, either in churches or drinking songs or weddings and various things. Music has always been a way of bringing people together. So, um, but I hope you wrote a lot of songs about that. Sorry to hear about your brother. That that that's a tough space. Um, now, so did you go to school for music?
I did, yes.
Okay.
So, going back to that, um, in school, I was obviously in choir. And I auditioned and I was a part of an a cappella group. And then I also was a lead singer of two different bands. And one of the bands that I was in, we got to perform at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland twice.
Awesome.
Very excited about it. And also in high school, something that I just, I still love to think back on is I hosted a Benevet concert. It's a benefit concert, but I called it Benevet because it's for homeless veterans.
Hmm.
And basically, I was given a assignment of you need to do a community service project using music. And so I grabbed all of the local high school bands that were performing in Hilliard and Columbus area. And I
Hmm.
said, let's host a benefit concert for all the homeless veterans. And we raised like over $1,000, which was pretty good
Oh,
considering
that's
we only
awesome.
had probably about a month and a half to be able to put everything together. But I was very humbled to see how many people were willing and wanting to do that. And I'm very proud of all the people that wanted to step up and participate for that.
Awesome. Now, did you go to college then and study music or?
Yes, I went to Capital University's Music Conservatory here in Ohio.
Awesome. Now, do you have other instruments besides piano that you play? You went in as voice or piano or
Yes,
other instruments?
and I went in as a vocal primary major. Um, Graduated with music industry. Learned piano there, and then I'm playing guitar now as well for the church band as well. So I'm
Wonderful.
I'm stretching the muscles still, learning new things.
I got a bunch of guitars back here. I can't play them to save my life. I try and I try, and I got as far as playing a lime in the coconut when my son was taking a guitar class, and I still haven't. I can make music on an instrument, but playing the guitar. So that's really cool that you're doing that and stretching on various instruments. Did you ever play any other woodwind instruments or in high school or anything like that?
No, not
That's
me.
fine. Now, where do you think you got your best, not inspiration isn't the right word, your best intuition for writing and arranging songs? Who did you listen to that gave you ideas for how you would form your songs?
I used to listen to a lot of Miley Cyrus,
Hmm.
Selena Gomez,
Hmm.
but I also used to listen to Kiss and Scorpions. And
You like that
then,
rock stuff?
yeah,
Yeah, bang your head against the wall. No, I love it. Tease it. I, yeah. Keep going, please.
I really enjoy listening to Lizzie Hale and Amy Lee. So, Evanescence and Hailstorm. And then I've really been in a Nickelback kick. Um, Something about those gritty guitars I'm just really loving right now. And then,
Get yourself a distortion pedal and start playing around with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
have a
really,
blast.
I was gonna say the only other like significant artist that I would probably say that I grew up listening to isn't, well, this isn't even an artist, it's just an inspiration in general. Phantom of the Opera. It was the very first
Ooh.
Broadway musical I'd ever heard, and it was the very first thing I heard that got me into choir. So,
Well, that's all. Well, so that was the other thing I was going to ask. Did you ever do any musical theater stuff?
yes,
Which ones
I
did you
did
do?
musical. So I was the baker's wife in Into the Woods for my junior high. And then from there, it was hard because I would always get like one step down from the lead roles from there in high school. Um, but it worked out, even though I was very competitive at the time, um, because I was doing all the a cappella groups and also being in the high school bands that I was into.
Yeah, well, when you jump to taking that lead role, there's a lot more responsibility. And
Oh
if
yeah.
you're stretched thin on the other things, that's a perfect place to be, actually. So now, did you ever do any of that, depending on the conservatory or the schools, some have better musical theater departments than others. Did you do that when you continued into college as well?
I didn't really have an interest for the what they did was opera, and I wasn't really into the opera. I was really trying to just learn how to become like a session musician, a session vocalist for
Yep.
pop and contemporary music. However, I am classically trained, so I do sing arias and I do sing classical music and
Mhm.
ethereal stuff as well. Um, it's not the main thing that I do, but I do them.
That's it. That's interesting because that's a big thing right now for epic music. And our some of our other groups that meet with the Composer Exchange, we just did a whole session on epic music this week even. And that ethereal choir, beautiful female voice right out kind of singing over the top is like that's what makes it work so I think there's a lot of room for collaborations with a lot of folks that are in that industry, especially for trailers and epic music, um, that you could connect with because your voice really does blend well in that genre as well as the
Thank
kind of
you.
the pop flavor in there.
Thank you.
Now you had mentioned Phantom. Now I did a lot of musical theater touring, and they were like, oh, I want to be that, person. That's who I want to, they were like, it was almost an identity crisis for that. Did you ever identify with a role in a particular musical that you went, I want to be Mame or whatever? Mame's probably not the right one, but I want to be that character for that particular musical and do that role. Is there any particular role
Only, only Christine Daae. Only Christine Daae.
that you didn't want to do? What was it? Frost or Winter? Or, what's that Disney one?
Let it go, Elsa.
Yeah, those kinds of things. Did you ever want to do one of those kinds of roles?
Necessarily, it's just not really my cup of tea. Um, I just really, uh, I grew up listening to the Sarah Brightman version of Phantom of the Opera. However, when Emmy Rossum's version came out, the one in like 2007, I think,
Mhm.
um, I just fell in love with her voice. And so I was like, if I could try to imitate or do a role, I would do it the way that Emmy Rossum did it, for Christine Daae. But as for other stuff, actually, I think there is one other role that I would play if given the opportunity and I earned it. Um, it would be Alphaba from Wicked. Indina Menzel, who also sings Let It Go, and is Elsa, the voice actor, but I really like the role of Alphaba.
I, anytime you can find that kind of perfect role that you can connect with, that's a cool thing because that will also inspire you for the other things that you do that are more original on your own side and being able to draw from those things because a lot of I think what helps the more successful people become more successful is really knowing yourself, really knowing where you fit in, knowing what your strengths are, and how to make those shine, and just to polish, be able to polish those just that extra little bit so you stand out in the crowd. Well, what do you think you would give as advice to any songwriter that wants to that aspires to develop their craft and really get into to either the identifying where their career path is? What advice would you give somebody?
That is a great question. I would say do the administrative stuff that you don't want to do. So go network, go to the open mics, meet new people, go to songwriting groups. Even if you're an introvert, need to do that. I would also recommend that you get a production course or something to be able to figure out how to record yourself, and practice recording yourself, because you never thought that you would need to practice for recording, but you do need to practice to learn how to track efficiently. And then honesty is the best policy. Be upfront about everything, and if your gut's telling you something's fishy, follow it.
Probably is.
Yep,
That's why you got the gut to look for that stuff. So
absolutely.
you had mentioned open mics. Now I got my start as a drummer as right in high school. I'd go sit in with the old time pros in the Dixieland bands and these other things, and then it evolved to more of the blues and rock groups and so forth. As I grew and learned more in different styles and so forth. And what I'm curious of as a singer, um, what are the songs if you're going to go to an open mic? What are like five key songs that you want to know if you're going to go and sit in? Like you go to a blues jam, you better know Mustang Sally. Whatever. What are the five songs that you think, every singer should know if they're going to go to a variety of open mics, and they might range in the style, or might be more of a rock jam versus a jazz jam or a blues jam.
This also kind of goes with the last question that you asked about the advice. Know your audience. So if you walk into an open mic and it's just at a coffee shop and you have a whole bunch of other people in there that just want to come in and play their original music and all of their friends are there because they're really supportive, play your own stuff. If you're walking in and you see that everyone else there is musicians and you're really just there to kind of show off your chops, you better be singing some kind of Aretha Franklin, some kind of Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Ariana Grande, um, just the kind of songs that vocally you're going to need to use a lot of technique to be able to show
And
off
that
your
you're
talent.
prepared to do, don't the probably the worst thing I think you could do is to take on, try to do something too challenging, either for the other people that are accompanying you on that. Like if they don't really know the song, they're going to make you look bad. And I
Yep.
remember even at a taxi jam, there's this woman. She had such a beautiful tone. I don't know if you were there, but she had an amazing tone to her voice. And these the poor band was lost. They did not know the song. And so she just kind of went in and started, like, kind of almost scatting, saying gibberish, if she and the tone of her voice just sold it. But it's like, I felt bad for her because, but she was smart enough to figure out how to kind of save herself, but the band was just falling apart and behind her. So it's also picking something that is going to work with your audience, is also who you're working with, because
Yep.
if I was going there as a singer, and I'm not a singer, but as a musician, I'm going there mostly to network with the musicians. I want them to say, man, you got it going on. I want to give you a call for the next gig or the collaboration, those kinds of things, as opposed to somebody that maybe had too much to drink. Well, you're really good, man. Really, I nothing against that. And I love the audience, but it's like, who is your audience? Are you going there because that guitar player, you want to work with them, or are you going there because you want to impress, a group of your family that came out to hang out with you, or your friends? So I think that's a really excellent point. Is pick the audience that you're going for, and then and And then know your stuff. So what is the stuff? What do you think is like the most important three songs that somebody should learn if they're a singer and they've got the chops to kind of stretch themselves, but still keep it simple enough that whatever band is going to be there, they're going to be able to work with it. I mean, it's
Hmm.
a hard question, really, because
It's a
it's really
very hard question.
subjective.
And it is, because you never know what other people know. So, and you also don't know the genres that they specialize in. So it also depends on that.
Mhm.
If you're going for pop, I would probably say you should know how to do, I would say a song by Ariana Grande.
Something
And
that everybody knows, they can sing along with it,
yeah,
have fun.
you know what? I think maybe Bang Bang would be a good one. And that's a collaboration.
Whoa. Yeah, that's got some sass to it. You want to be
Oh,
flirty? Yeah, but does if the band knows it, that's the trick. Yeah. But yeah, oh
mhm.
yeah, you can pick those. Andy
And
Casey did that one, and she just, I mean, that was like one of the ones that she did such a good job on. It went viral and it helped launch her career along with a couple others that she did. But yeah.
it might just be because, I'm still learning and I'm still going and experiencing, but I haven't really known any open mics where there's a set standard of what to know except for in jazz.
Well,
So,
jazz and blues. Like you always in a jazz or blues, if you know Stormy Monday, that's a good one to know. Like I said, a blues one, Mustang Sally, or you have a couple other, a couple very uh standard jazz blues, yeah, you can pull from those catalogs. But it's something that everybody, if everybody knows it and they can sing along and have fun, that's when you're going to be like, I'm not a singer, but I've gotten wrestled with friends to go and stand up in a karaoke, and I can fake it on Route 66. And just because I look in how I'm presenting myself, like I know what I'm doing, they go, wow, are you a professional singer? No, not even close. But so that's a part of it, I think, as well, is that have the confidence. You're selling yourself. And even if you don't know the words or you screw up, don't let the audience know. I mean,
yeah,
you know what you're doing. I did that on purpose. That was in how you present it.
that's one of the funny things that I was going to share is I had a funny time where I messed up and I think everyone knew it, but I don't necessarily know because I just acted like I was confident and everything was sailing through. But my band in high school was playing Carry On My Wayward Son, and it was very popular um, at that time. I mean, it's kind of a timeless song anyway, but um, I was performing that and I performed the second half of the verse first. So I started singing, "You can hear them say," and then everyone was expecting to go to the hook of the song, but then all of the orchestra players kept going because poor orchestra players, they're not going to skip ahead like a normal contemporary band would. So I was fumbling to just get some words out, and then I'd sang the pre-chorus again and right into it. It's funny now, but it was very embarrassing back then. But I asked my mom, I was like, "So, did you like the show?" And she was like, "Yeah, it was great."
See, what you want to do is you want to be able to sell it so they're going to question whether or not they know the words right.
And that's what
That's what I would
happened.
think you would do. That would be good. That would be great. Cool. So what has been the most rewarding experience that you've had either in performance or in writing a song?
I would say, honestly, the most rewarding part of my musical journey so far has been the overwhelming amount of kindness that I've gotten from people that I don't know who are leaving comments on the videos that my music are on. Um, and not only that, but it just added a level of confirmation that I'm doing what I need to be doing. Because as a musician, and I'm not sure if this is just me or if it's just across the board, there's a level of, in the beginning at least, that you are constantly trying to develop your skills to become a good, well rounded musician. And you don't really know when that is until you get that kind of gratifying feedback from either other top notch musicians or people that you know to be in good positions, even if they're humble themselves, you know. And that's just something that I've really felt like I've been blessed with this year is just, you know, even being asked to be on this podcast, being like, oh, wow. So I've reached a certain point where I'm starting to have this gratification of saying, I don't think gratification is the right word, but I think you know what I'm
Like a
trying to say.
you're getting your skills reinforced. You're
Yeah,
getting
like a
encouraged.
reassurance.
It's encouraging. I think that's important for everyone at any stage is to get a little bit of encouragement. Um, Now you had mentioned kindness, and one of my favorite things that I've heard Lady Gaga say, and part of how I realized that she's so much more than an artist, she's just a super cool human, was she just says, kindness, it doesn't cost you anything. Just,
Yep.
give it out for free. It's the most amazing thing, and it's so powerful. Kindness is key, and that made me think of how subjective music is, in that you have to really you can be emotional about it, and you can feel dearly about this little child of a song that you wrote. Okay, you can feel an emotional attachment to it. At the same time, if somebody says that's not the right song for me, good luck, kind of a thing, don't take it personally.
Yep.
That is so important, because what happens is, if you let that happen, it eats at your self-esteem. And one of the things that you have to be able to do, and they've said this to me about being a singer, and I'm not a singer, but a singer especially, you're getting out there in front of the people, and it's like you're naked, okay, and you're vulnerable in that sense, and you have to sell it and feel comfortable with that in such a way that the people really appreciate what you're doing. But that takes so much self-confidence to do that, to really stand out. And I put my hand up, and it says that I put my hand up. Anyways, whatever that is. The I gotta stop talking with my hands. Anyways, but that self-confidence is really important, and and getting criticism that is uh maybe not that flattering. Maybe you
Yep.
had a bad day, you sang a little out of tune because you couldn't hear the monitors, whatever it is, something, take that for the situation and the time, but don't let it eat at you emotionally, internally, and really have that help be maybe, oh, well, I know how I can do better, or I can avoid. Use it as a learning. If you're approaching life and everything that you're doing as, this is part of the journey, I'm going to get better. And instead of having that that one performance be the validation for your self-worth. You can't go there. If you go there, it'll eat at you like a cancer. And I hope that the people can find a way to still be able to put all themselves in it, stand out there naked, but be okay if somebody laughs, or somebody doesn't find it find it as flattering as you find it. Okay. You just have to, hey, that's what it is. Here it is. You like it or you don't, kind of a thing, but still, it's wonderful when you get that great praise or re-encouragement. And I hope people, when they listen to something and they don't like it, they can preference it as being, hey, that's my personal opinion, as opposed to it's not you or your song is bad and that kind of a thing. We give weekly critiques in our composer exchange, and that's a skill in itself, being able to say, well, hey, I would let go of the piano, but not just say, man, the piano sucks. You're not going to say it like that. You're going to be kind, and
Yeah.
you're gonna give it something in an encouragement to help somebody. Otherwise, shut your mouth. If you're not going to say something constructive, just shut up. Otherwise, you should be saying it because you want to help somebody,
Yeah.
and that comes back to your kindness thing. I really think that's important for people to consider.
Absolutely.
All right, so what's the funniest, craziest, stupidest, like I can't believe it thing that ever happened to you in the music business?
Well, I got a few things. The very first one was when I was in high school with my band at the time, and I had just bought my first mic stand, and I spray painted it and made it look so cool. It was so rocker chick esque. I loved it. Only got to perform one time with it because the venue that we were at had said that's ours. So I wasn't very confident enough to say this is wrong. I know what you're trying to do. If you want to buy it from me, that's fine. But I wasn't very confident at the time. I was like, I'm just a kid. These are a bunch of adults. I'm not really sure there's anything I can do. Um, and it was a bar setting. So, as a young lady, sometimes it's not very preferable in the first place. But um, I just had to let it go. And that was like, it's something that I kind of laugh at now because I'm just like, oh, well, it is what it is. But that's probably like one of the strangest things I've ever had happen. And I haven't been to that venue since because of that. But um, it's just, it's funny to me now because it's like you really just wanted to have one microphone stand. Okay,
Well, yeah,
have it.
you kind of have
Really
to go
needed.
pity them. Sure, if you really believe that. Good luck for you. Um, Now, if somebody wanted to find your music now, Megan, you are somebody that is going to have a very successful career ahead of you. I really love the your attitude and your approach to music. I think is gonna serve you well. You're humble, and you have talent and skills, and you're on a journey for growth and learning, and that's, I mean, every musician, singer, songwriter, artist, that's the baseline of what you need to be successful. And I have no doubts that you're going to be have a wonderful career in that. One of the key things for that, I find for myself, and I've seen this with many other people, is having that life balance, in making sure that you're not doing too much music and not enough keep your own stuff together. It's a music business, so tending to your business. Um, Let me just, ask you about, life balance, before we close here. What do you find is the most important for allowing you to balance between what you need to learn on your recording studio, everything from building sound baffles like you were saying that you did for your home studio, to learning about the equipment and the engineering, to crafting better lyrics or better song form, or just and being able to enjoy life and do other things that will help, center you and so forth. Where do you find that balance for you? What does that balance look like? If you could paint a picture of that. you got boyfriend in there somewhere, right? Somebody that you care about, people that love you, your family. Where is that balance between all the things that you do that in life to pull that into your music and so forth?
Okay. Um, well, it's hard because I think, and this might just be my opinion, but for musicians, it's hard to differentiate a lot of the time because you're constantly writing about your life experiences.
Hmm.
And sometimes and this might just be me, but sometimes I'll force myself to go have life experiences so I have things to write about. Or I'll make sure that I don't miss out on certain opportunities because it's like, okay, um, this could turn into a potential opportunity that I'll be able to make memories that maybe no one else will be able to have. And I'll be able to interpret that and write it into a way that other people can, you know, relate with, or to be able to say, oh, that's a new perspective. I really want to maybe think like that, or I want to be able to figure out how to change my perspective to think more like that. As for work life balance, for me, I think right now where I am in my life, I'm just work. I'm trying to just do as much as I can, meet as many people as I can, and just make a whole bunch of opportunities to where we can move together forward. And um, for me, it's like you're on a ride constantly. You're constantly going through this journey, and I just love being around other people that just feed you. And I try to surround myself with people that are creative. I try to surround myself with people that are more logistical because you have to have that balance. And I am a very creative person where I might lack on the logistics a little bit. So having someone else there that's more logistical, or logical, thank you, um, helps balance that out for you. Where for someone like me, organization isn't the best, but knowing that as one of my weaknesses, it helps me find that balance too of, oh, well, don't forget about all of these things, even though it's your least favorite thing to do. Um, as far as the business aspect of things, I would say that luckily was something I also pursued in college. I have a minor in marketing. So,
Hmm.
something that I learned in high school is a lot of musicians, like myself, was struggling with the business entity of the music and not knowing how to market yourself and how to see your music as a product that could be profitable, and how to push that out towards an audience, or how to just make business goals to make it affordable, even what's the steps of ways to write for grants or anything like that. Crowdfunding, those kinds of things. And it's something that I'm still constantly learning about, and it's something that's always going to be developed. And um, marketing is always experimental, of course. Um, but those are the kinds of things that I try to balance my life with. If I'm tired of music for the day, I'll go over to business. If I'm tired of business for the day, I'll go hang out with my family. If I'm tired of my family, I'll go see my boyfriend.
Oh,
Those
he's
kinds of,
let. Well, let's not let him see this so he knows where he is on the list. There you go.
oh, he's
No, no, no.
also
I'm playing. He's probably a little higher on the list. He's got to be. Yeah. I mean, that's, love inspires us. So being happy is usually the top of the list, or at least should be trying to be. Well, that's a good place to be. I think the hardest thing is really knowing for sure what your weaknesses are. If you know what your weaknesses are, so you can build on your strengths and manage your weaknesses. And a lot of people fail, I think, to identify their weaknesses and think, oh yeah, I'm good at that. Yeah, yeah, I'm good at that. And they're not. And knowing when to, this is an area that I can always use help with is a really good piece. Now you just identified your strengths obviously as a singer and writing the songs, being creative and coming up with new ideas, having a good team of the right musicians to accompany you and the right team of engineers and the right people that can help organize things for you. That seems like, what you identified as people that you want in your circle of friends and business relationships that will help you on this journey. And I don't think a lot of people uh, catch on to that as quickly as they should. And you're a young go-getter. I think you're going to do fantastic. I look forward to seeing you online some more. Where can people go to see you have some music videos and you have a wonderful website. I don't have it handy right here, but I'll put it in the description. Do you want to tell people what that is right now?
Sure. It's just Megan Woodruff Music, and it's on YouTube. That is the main place that I advise all of the people that want to listen to my music and watch all of my videos at is YouTube under Megan Woodruff Music.
Awesome. And there's some fun stuff up there. And I love the ones where you're just sitting and playing the piano and doing a simple little just emotional connection on a song. There's some really wonderful stuff. Your production pieces are really good too. And I love that. So I look forward to collaborating with you in the future and hearing more of your great music and the successes that are laying in front of you and everybody that's with us today. Geez, I can't speak. That's with it. You left me speechless, Megan. Uh, for everybody that's with us today, stay sharp. Always end on a high note. And thanks again, Megan Woodruff, for joining us on the High Note podcast. We will see you on the next one. Stay tuned and take care.
Thank you.
Oops, I'm not going to end there. I'm going to end up here.